It's time to play. Let's rewind to yesterday. The fun begins, we're here to stay. Ready, set, replay.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Ready, Set, Recap, where we recap what's been going on. I'm Daniel, joined as always by my best friend, Skyler.
I am here again.
This week, in the news, the trailer for the It prequel series dropped. Avengers got delayed. Xbox is adding Steam to their consoles. Bungie's been caught stealing art again. And we set a time capsule for 10 years in the future.
Ooh.
But before all that, Skyler, what's been going on with you this week?
I saw the new Final Destination film in theaters. And let me tell you, it was okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's about what I figured.
So, in preparation, I don't know if I mentioned it. In preparation for this movie coming out, I did watch all the others, and I came to the conclusion they're just not. I'm not a fan. I won't definitively say they're not good. I'll leave that to other people.
Sure.
A lot of people like them. They're not my favorite. I like bits and pieces. Obviously, I'm a freak, and I like movie gore and movie kills and horror stuff.
Right, which I guess is what this is for.
Yeah, I get that stuff out of it, but just all in all, just like, take it or leave it kind of thing. And I guess I would leave it. But I saw the new one, and I would definitely say the new one is the best one.
Okay.
It feels like a real movie while still being undoubtedly a Final Destination movie. In the kind of stupid way you're expecting.
In all the positive and negative ways that could mean.
Yeah. But it was still fun.
Well, cool. That's really exciting. Yeah, I was getting served trailers for that constant, and so I did start to turn against it. If I saw, if my YouTube served me that clip of the people drinking glass one more time, I was gonna flip.
100%. Let me tell you, talking about trailers that you don't stop getting served, I hate that Megan 2.0 trailer.
See, I've only seen that one a couple of times, but I look forward to it just destroying me in the near future.
Oh my god. I mean, it's definitely a problem with I've seen a lot of horror movies this year, and ever since that trailer came out, I've been getting that a lot. And it's just the part where Megan is like, hold on to your vaginas or something. It's just the level of stupid that it's look how stupid we are. Aren't we having fun? And I'm being the Squidward. I'm not having fun.
No.
I didn't like the first one, and I'm not going to see this one. So take that to the bank and smoke it.
That's saying something, because you see a lot of movies.
Yeah, I do. But I do occasionally put my foot down.
I also did something that was very in-fitting with my character. Season 48 of Survivor has ended. We got the season finale this week.
Did the boy we were sponsoring win?
No, unfortunately.
Damn it.
He did make Final 3. He made Final 3. He made it to the very end. He never got voted out. He did as well as you can do without winning. So,
okay, cool.
So we do still stand him. He was great. That's Joe.
That's very Joe. Ready, Set, Replay coded.
Right? Did really well, but just like...
honorary replayer Joe.
From Sacramento. So
hey! A kinsman of mine.
Yeah. He did very well. I think by the end, a lot of the audience had turned against him. Not in terms of like hating him, but just like being kind of bored of him. Because nobody challenged him like the whole season. Like he was just kind of in this position of power. He was basically making the decisions of who voted or who got voted out all the time. And then I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like the person who got voted out at Final Four like did a little bit of jury manipulating and got her bestie a couple extra votes so that he would win instead at the very last second. And I don't think that Kyle, the guy who won, did a bad job of the game. I think it was a very strategy-less season. It was a very like emotion-based season, which it can be good in its own right. This one I think was very hit and miss episode to episode. But what I will say is I don't think Joe needed to win. I'm sure he wanted to, but I think he got what he needed out of being there. Because if you don't remember, he had applied because his sister had been killed as a result of domestic violence. And he was able to make like a really big statement about that. And he was out there to feel close to her again. And he got to go out and like basically there was this really emotional scene that maybe felt a little bit forced, where
Hmm.
he was like on the beach and he was like I had like one job as your older brother. Is like I was supposed to protect you and I couldn't protect you from that monster, and it was really
Hmm.
sad.
Hmm.
Um, but he got what he needed out of it. I wish he had won, but the guy who won did try to do more strategy than Joe, and I think that that's what a lot of the jury like respects more over just like being in charge of the game the whole time, which is, I don't know, sort of a hair to split. I'm not mad that
Yeah.
Kyle won. I just would have been happier if Joe had, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, Joe will go down in the annals of history as the RSR backed winner. He's the winner in our hearts,
that's right. He was
and that's coming from someone who didn't even watch.
he really was like the main character of the season. Like
That's
like the camera was focused on Joe the whole season. So he might not have won, but he was the one that the network was like, this is the person who you're going to want to watch.
cool.
And they
Cool.
were right. They were absolutely right. He'll 100% he'll be back. He's going to play another season. Will he win that season? Probably not, because again,
Hmm.
didn't really like do a lot of the strategy part of it. But he'll be back. He's like Boston Rob 2.0, and I love that.
I'm gonna pretend I understand what that means.
One of these days, I'll teach you. But you've never heard of Boston Rob? I understand not watching the show, but like Boston Rob is a big thing in pop culture for a long time.
What? Really?
Yeah, Boston Rob.
No.
He's like, there's like a handful of big names that have come out of Survivor. It'd be like Boston Rob, Parvati, Sandra Diaz Twine, Tony.
You might as well be speaking a different language. That's all above my pay grade.
That's fine. That's fine. One of these days, I will force you to know who these people are, and you'll be like, wow, I don't care.
Maybe. Maybe. It's entirely possible.
But speaking of things that we may or may not care about, we got a new trailer for Welcome to Derry. I assume that's the title. I haven't
Yeah.
heard literally anything about this until you sent me the trailer for this.
I think
But it looks good.
it is well I don't know if Welcome to Derry is just the subtitle or if it's like Welcome to Derry, but yeah, it is a HBO Max series as a prequel to the movie, specifically the recent movies, because one of the main producers, I don't believe he's a showrunner on
Hmm.
this, but main producers is Andy Muschietti, who directed the two previous It movies. And one part that I didn't know because I wasn't really following, I knew this was happening, or rather, this always to me felt like oh, they're doing that allegedly, and it's just like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, we see
Sure.
it, so here
Yeah.
it is. And yeah, it looks like Bill Skarsgård is reprising his role as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Although the
Oh,
trailer
good for
really
him.
seems to me, until the end where they show his silhouette, at least, seemed to me that they were kind of shifting away from Pennywise and doing, because he's a shapeshifter. He can be whatever. He could be your fears.
Yeah.
So like maybe they don't have Bill Skarsgård back for that much, and we do other things. He turned into a werewolf or whatever he does.
I do think that's pretty likely that we
Yeah,
don't see Bill Skarsgård too much.
but he's listed in the cast. Apparently he's here, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's rock with
Mhm.
it.
I really liked that first It movie
Yeah,
with
the kids.
Sophia Lillis and all them.
Yeah.
I really like that one. Apparently not enough to watch the second one because I never did.
Oh,
And I
that's okay.
don't
The
know if I'll
second one
watch
is
this.
not as good. The second one
Oh,
is not
okay.
as good.
Well,
Well, it's also, that's the part of the book no one really cares about.
oh,
And
the
that's kind
adults
of a
coming back.
grand sweeping statement. It's all like interspliced throughout the book.
Oh, so the book
We
like
just,
goes back and forth, but the movies
yes,
cut it in half.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense actually.
Which really ends up, you know, loading all the parts that are, I guess, are less interesting, except for the quote unquote conclusion, which is different in like the original TV miniseries to the movies and
Yeah.
what have you. It is
When does that one take place? That's like the 80s?
yeah. So the
The
book,
when they're kids, I mean.
yeah, the book and the original miniseries, they are kids in the 50s.
Okay,
And so that
because
when the
this
book
is
comes out, when
this
the
is the
book had
50s,
came
right?
out, that would have been like the 27 years after. So, but they, to more modernize it, they are kids in the 80s here, and they are adults in the 2018,
10s or something.
I think.
Yeah.
2018 is when that movie came out. I think 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
think it was 2019 because I think the first one was 2017. But yeah, so this prequel series seems to be set in the 50s, so more along the vibes that the book had. So
Right.
that's interesting in its own
I
right.
I don't know if I was reading into this or not too much, but I did get like vibes of race relations. A lot of the missing kid, and I don't know if this is part of the book. A lot of the missing kid posters I saw in that trailer were like, "Oh, it's all the people of color," and then like the family that we look to be following the most closely is a black family, and so I
Sure.
almost wonder if that's going to be sort of part of the commentary on it. Is like, "Oh, the police don't care about these kids going missing because they're not white." You know, because that's always been a part of the
Possibly.
Stephen King thing. Is like not the
Yeah,
racism,
there's
but like that
well,
adults suck ass.
there are always racist characters in Stephen King
Absolutely.
books. In fact, in it specifically, one character goes on a like very long running sentence tangent, calling a character a specific string of words that are
Right.
holy moly. So yeah,
I do vaguely
racism is
remember
always
that.
there. Luckily, they're always the bad guys.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so there's that. And yeah, with it specifically, they could put that twist on it on like cops are not paying attention because of the race of the people,
Yeah.
but also like we already have cops not paying attention because Pennywise has like an evil hold over adults in the town. So
Right.
I don't know if that's going to shine through or not, if that's what they're doing, but I guess we'll see. I will I could see myself checking this out.
I could see it. This feels like, hey, I heard Stranger Things is ending. Let's make a new one. You know what I mean? It does
Yeah,
have sort
yeah,
of that
kind of.
vibe to it.
We are
Um,
still doing kids on bikes.
for sure. And there's definitely going to be an opening in that market because I think season 5 of Stranger Things is this year, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know when this comes out. We got a trailer of this before Stranger Things season 5, so I guess maybe this comes out before it. But presumably this will last more than one season if it's successful. What
Probably.
service is this on?
HBO Max.
Okay. Well, HBO usually makes pretty decent shows, so it's probably. I imagine this will. I don't think this is going to be like a huge budget show, so it should be one that they should be able to like stand behind pretty easily. I would think. Yeah.
Worth mentioning, we didn't say it last time because it's not really important, but HBO Max, which is now Max, is going back to being HBO Max
Yeah.
this summer
Happy about that.
because, yeah, because you know what? Literally today, I told my brother, I was like, "Hey, put on Max," and he looked at me like, "What?" And then I was like, "HBO Max,"
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, okay." And so that is the problem.
Yeah, it is. I do understand them changing it to Max to an extent because I think when it started as HBO Max, it was like HBO is really the only reason anybody watches this, and that's still kind of true today. But I remember, I think they changed it like shortly after they brought in like all the DC stuff because remember that was its own service for a little while, and then they added like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Nickelodeon catalog and a bunch of stuff and like the BET catalog. And so I bet that they were looking at it and they were like, well, we want to make it clear to people that this is not just HBO. But what they did in the process was like sort of take the Michelin star off of the front of their
Yeah,
their brand because like
yeah.
HBO,
Well,
yeah, it's
yeah,
only a
'cause
fraction of it,
people,
but it's a fraction of it that people love. You know what I mean?
yeah, and people know what HBO is. I guess
Yeah.
if they were like, well, HBO doesn't quite encapsulate what we have going on here. It's like, well, then why not work Warner Brothers into the name?
Hell yeah.
Like,
Honestly, just
w-
call it
without
WB. WB
without
Max.
branding, it's what a gross way to say this, but it is true. Without the branding, like, how do people know? And I
Yeah.
know that the answer is like, well, you just pay attention and you know. Like, I know what's on Max,
Right.
but it's just it was a stupid name change. Just leave it. Nobody was clamoring for a name change
Yeah, we
other
didn't
than
need it.
Zaslav, who is
Gone, right?
no. I was just gonna say stupid.
Oh, because wasn't there somebody who like came in and they did the name change and then they're gone and now the other guy's back or something? I don't
No,
remember.
I'm pretty sure it was all just David Zaslav, who is still very much there
Okay.
and just like doing the modern day CEO thing or CFO, whatever the hell he is. And then
Good, save
and
that F.
then
We only get one.
where yeah, I know, where he just walks in and he knocks over the blocks that you're playing with, and he just goes over and then he
Yeah.
messes with someone else's Legos, and he's just ruining everything.
Man, it's crazy. I will say though, naming aside, I do think that HBO Max might be, or Max, whatever, might be like the streaming service that I spend the most time on lately.
lately for sure, because
Yeah.
we've been watching Batman on there.
Right.
And what else you been watching on there?
That's on there. There's also the AEW stuff is on there now. So whenever I go
Oh
back to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
rewatch
yeah.
AEW, because
I
I
watched
can almost never
Dynamite
watch
this
it
week.
live. Yeah, yeah. I've been trying to get caught up because of course we're going to All In next month. So I've been trying to get like actually watch all the episodes. So I've been spending a lot of time on there. And you know what? And I think it's a pretty good app. I prefer it over several of the other ones that I use. So
That year during COVID, 2021, where they were like, we're just putting all these movies day one on Max. Granted, that didn't help the industry, but what a year that was for being a fat piece of shit watching TV at home.
I think probably the two that I spend the most time on is that and Paramount. Because Paramount has
Yeah.
a pretty big catalog themselves, and also Survivor, which is obviously a
Mhm.
big thing for me. That's my like back. That's my The Office. You know, I put that on and just like do other
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I got you.
So those are the big ones. Honestly, I love Amazon. Worst app. I think finding stuff on Amazon is a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, are you
'Cause then, like,
are
'cause-
you using it through like your smart TV, or are you actually using it on like your web browser on your computer? Because
It's
that
a it's
you
an
just have
app
to
on
like
my
go through
TV.
Amazon.
Yeah, and that's terrible because then it's like, oh, this show's on there. Oh no, they want me to buy it, so it's not
You have
actually
to
on the
like
service.
you have to like click the thing and scroll down to Prime Video, and then it knows you're talking about a show, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have that."
Yeah. For all the money Amazon has, they should be able to figure that out. In other news, you were the one who broke this one to me. Avengers, both new Avengers movies have been delayed about, I think, 6 months
Yeah,
a piece, basically.
we have a shuffling of MCU release dates.
Right.
Um, Now I guess some people would be upset to hear that Avengers Doomsday has been delayed from summer of 2026 to now December of 2026.
Yeah.
And then because of that, Secret Wars has been also bumped to December of the following year. To me, the exciting bit for that is that brought Spider-Man 4 up. It takes the Avengers Doomsday
Oh,
spot.
okay. So they brought that up. I see, because I was
Yeah,
confused about it, because the article for me wasn't clear on that. It said, and now Spider-Man comes out before it, but I wasn't sure if it was like, oh, it
yeah.
got pushed back past when the Spider-Man release date already was.
No, it was so Spider-Man Brand New Day, as it's called,
Right.
was supposed to come out between Doomsday and Secret Wars, which,
Do we think that that's going to have any bearing on its plot? It now coming out
yeah, well,
beforehand?
I thought it definitely did when it was stuck between them. I thought, like, great, Spider-Man's going to be stuck doing more multiverse stuff. Now, he still very much might be doing multiverse crap,
Yeah.
but I think it is not impossible that it was moved before so that it didn't have to have multiverse crap. There's a
We might get one.
chance
We might get
we're
one
just
real good
getting
suit of
a
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man movie,
Dear
and
God.
I'm holding on to that hope.
I hope so too. I really want just like Spider-Man doing street level Spider-Man stuff again. I don't want him
Mhm.
jumping through portals
Mhm.
and, solving the multiverse, curing
And
the villains of previous iterations of Spider-Man. Even though I liked that
maybe
movie, I don't want any more of that.
maybe the movie is about him having to deal with certain New York anti-vigilante laws being emplaced by a certain
Oh
bald
man.
guy
I honestly
in a
kind of
big
doubt
suit.
that they'll even
I
talk about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold out hopes for that. A lot of things have to
Although Murdoch was
fall
in
into
the
place.
last one,
Yeah,
that crossover has existed. It's been
again,
there
not
before.
impossible. But getting your hopes up for something specific in the MCU like this, like, oh, what if they made something really good? It's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, just wait and see.
Yeah, it's the same thing as like whenever if they announced one that was like Spider-Man, the name of your favorite comic, or like if they did it's Spider-Man
Yeah.
Blue or whatever, which they couldn't because that's a Gwen
Mhm,
Stacy one or whatever. But
mhm.
and people be like, oh my god, that's like my favorite Spider-Man comic, but it's like that it's not going to be basically anything like what the comic is, right?
Yeah, it's just name only for the most part.
Yeah.
Maybe some very generic themes that are shared between the two.
Another interesting thing that comes out of this is that now, I don't know if you saw this, Doomsday being pushed to December 18th means that it comes out the exact same day as Dune Messiah.
Yeah, I did see that,
The
and
internet is already calling it Doomsday, like Barbenheimer.
damn,
They
damn.
they move fast, that internet.
I I foresee it very possible that Dune moves I don't want to be the guy that said, "Oh, Dune has to move," because Dune was very big,
Yeah,
and
I mean that
and
second one
Avengers.
did really well, didn't it?
Yes, it is. And Avengers is like dwindling. MCU in general is dwindling. So
Yeah,
I'm not saying like
not dying, but just
either or. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that either or can't stack up to the other as far as like box office competition. And for people like me who have no problem seeing 2 movies in a week, it's not really a problem.
No,
But I can see Dune being like, okay, well, we'll just move back a month, let Avengers have its time, and then because I'm trying to remember,
who
Dune Part 2 came out in February.
who publishes
So I'm
Dune? Is that Warner Brothers? Is that who is
that
that?
yeah,
Is that is Warner Brothers?
it was on Max. So
Okay,
yeah, it is Warner Brothers.
so yeah, so that they're probably gonna want to move that, I imagine. They compete a lot already. By that point, we're gonna know how well Superman did. And we'll know whether or not the DC universe
Sure.
has legs.
And I'm not even sure if this is like a purposeful counter programming thing. I don't think.
Well, it couldn't possibly be. They put their thing there first.
Well, I mean
Oh,
Disney.
yeah, sure,
Disney
yeah,
being like, we're just gonna put Avengers here to take out Dune. Yeah, I don't think that's what this is. I think they're just doing their own thing, and they're like, well, Christmas is a good time
yeah.
to put out a movie. Probably let's put this here.
They're Disney. They genuinely may not even look at the calendar when they move their own stuff.
Yeah, I think they have the mindset of we are Disney, we'll do what we want, and we don't really care otherwise.
Yeah.
More so than they have the idea of the we are Disney and we will squash the little ones. Those pathetic little piss ants that make Dune one of the biggest sci-fi movies of the last 10 years.
Yeah. Move over, everybody.
Yeah.
Lisa now gotta eat my ass.
I it might be possible that Warner Brothers swaps out Dune Messiah for something else in that spot or just lets that spot go.
I could
Who
see
knows?
that. But I also, part of this that has me curious is like, why do they choose to delay it? Because I don't think, because it's in production now, right? Like they're about to start shooting or something, right? And I don't think they
Yeah.
stopped. So did they start it and they were like, oh, this is bigger than we thought, actually? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's either that they decided Spider-Man has to come out first or
Mm.
we won't be ready for Avengers in time. It's one of those two or something along those lines, you know?
Maybe they were looking at like the timetable on the VFX on it, because I imagine it's going to be pretty heavy on that.
That's not impossible.
And they were like, well, we don't want it to look like, I don't know, Eternals or Quantumania or whatever. So we should give it an extra 6 months to do this. Because I think one of the things that people are possibly prematurely praising Superman and Supergirl for is that they got a full year of post-production to get their effects looking decent.
Sure. That sounds nice.
Which apparently is not the case for the Disney movies. I don't know what their timetables are. I haven't really paid that much attention to their stuff. But
they were notoriously rough shape for
yeah,
a good while there, where they were just putting them in the sweatshops and whipping them over the back and saying, "You complete." What's a example I could use? Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Yeah, I was gonna. The one that comes to mind
Moon Knight in a
immediately
week.
for me is the floating head in not Ragnarok, Love and
Oh
Thunder.
yeah. Thor 4. Yep.
Dear
That is
God.
a pretty good example.
Well, let's enter my dojo real fast for our next news story. I don't know if you would have even heard about this, but it's kind of a big deal for me. They apparently, according to insiders, have started testing integrating the Steam and Epic Game Store onto next generation Xbox hardware.
Steam powered Xbox.
It's pretty exciting, honestly. Because this was one of the things is people were like, "Oh, Xbox is putting their games on other platforms. What would be the purpose of buying an Xbox anymore?" And I think if you put Steam on your on the Xbox and be like, "This is the PC that you can just play games on in your living room, and it'll be quite a bit cheaper." Because I imagine even the next Xbox will be like, even with tariffs, maybe like $700. I think that's a real big like Trojan horse of like, hey, I know a lot of kids want to play PC, but don't have the money and don't want to deal with the nonsense of what it means to actually play PC, because they see the younger generation has this thing that we've been noting in the game space of like, they watch their streamers play games on PC and then they're like, oh well, I should get a PC, and then they don't like it because it's awful. It's like a huge high bar of entry. It's all like really clunky. Frankly, if I'm being honest, I think the Steam storefront is a huge mess. But
Sure.
if you can find a way to get that onto a console where you can just play it in your living room on your TV and not have to worry about constantly updating 5,000 things, or like, oh, the Steam version of this game is just broken. I think that's great. I genuinely think that that's going to do a lot of good things for not just for Xbox, but also just for the industry as a whole. I think the idea of like tearing down the wall of exclusivity and just we're going to compete on two separate markets. We're going to compete on software and we're going to compete on hardware, and we're not going to make it so that you have to buy our box to play our game, because that frankly that hurts everybody. When you make a game exclusive, it hurts literally everybody involved. It hurts the people who make the game because it's going to sell less copies. It's going to make less money because less people can play it, and it's going to hurt the people who want to buy it because they might not be able to buy it in the place where they want to. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to go spend $500 to get an extra console so I can go play this thing, right?
Yeah.
I will say one of the things that people are really glomming onto with this story that I think is kind of funny, because we've been talking about it on the podcast here every now and then, of it seems pretty clear that PlayStation is going to start like also publishing their stuff on other platforms in the near future. They're already like sort of testing the waters with it and putting stuff on the Switch. They already have most of their catalog on Steam, and so if Steam is just like put on the new Xbox, then they won't even have to bother porting anything. Like all their games would just be also playable on the Xbox.
Yeah, so that I guess that would be my number one question is like as far as Steam library, like things I've already purchased.
Yeah.
So like okay, so Warhammer 40K, the Space Marine 2.
Sure.
I have that on Steam. I don't have that on anything else. So if this goes through, and then do I suddenly just like, oh, I can play Space Marine 2 on my Xbox now?
Yeah, I mean, so the
Like magic.
the theory would basically be, because we haven't seen it realistically yet, but basically the next generation Xbox is just going to be a PC that goes on your TV. It's just going to be like,
Yeah.
It's a PC that is completely serviced for gaming. It doesn't have like all of the crazy driver updates or any of that stuff. You just turn it on and you play your games the way that you would on an Xbox, but like hardware wise, it's just a PC. And so right now the Xbox that you already has like mouse and keyboard support. So
Yeah.
realistically, any game that you put on Steam would be able to play on the next Xbox if it is just a PC, as long as it hit like the minimum requirements of like how powerful the PC is.
Yeah.
Which the next Xbox should be more powerful than the low end PCs that they target for most games, so it should be fine. So yeah, basically you would just be like, the way that I foresee it is, how right now when you go onto your Xbox and you see like, oh, these are the games that I have purchased on here, and then here are my games with gold games, and here are my Game Pass games. I envision it as literally just another tab that's like, and Steam.
Another tab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You would know better than I what kind of effects that would have on people buying Xboxes, people being interested in getting Xboxes, the tantrums that PC Master Race people would throw on plebeians who own Xboxes being able to play the games that they hold dear.
Yeah.
For me particularly, it just sounds like, oh, my Steam library is on my Xbox now. That's a big quality of life improvement for me.
And I do think that's what the majority of people would feel about it, is they would be like, oh, I can just play it. Because the number one reason that the games are ever exclusive to PC is because of either like a technical problem of like we couldn't figure out how to make it work on a controller, or like a funding problem of like we just couldn't afford to port it to other things, because it does take money. Not a ton, but it does take money to do it. So it's a lot of like really small indie games and really complicated games that tend to be PC exclusive. And I'm sure that there will be some like PCMR people who will be like super pissed that, oh my God, I can't believe Gabe did this, and now the console plebeians can play our games or whatever. I think the majority of them will still be like, but my 6070 can play it at 4 frames a second faster, and so clearly my version is better also.
Yeah.
It's like, because that's all they really care about at the end of the day is like, I spent $5,000 on my computer, and so now I can run it with ray tracing that makes my computer run at 400 degrees.
Right.
My entire bedroom feels like a sauna, and I sweat my balls off every day.
And if you're out there and that's you're sweating your balls off with your very good computer, Congratulations. We are jealous. Don't listen to us. We're haters.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. Also, my
Yeah.
computer has literally like the newest cards.
Mhm.
And I just don't use it for video games.
Mhm.
I bought a
And
pre-built that was like $2,000 so that it would run all of the stuff I do for this just a lot faster. And it does. And I love it and I don't regret it. But whenever I tell people like in the PC community, like, yeah, I still play on Xbox mostly. They're like, why? Because I don't want to spend any more time on my computer, obviously.
like, I don't know, dude, because I have preferences in my life.
I like sitting
I
on my
just
couch and not
I
sitting
do
3
different
inches from the
things.
screen.
Sometimes I leave my house and see the sun. I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Well, on the same sort of Xbox track, there was one more thing that I wanted to throw in here that I think is cool, but I don't know how much it's gonna like affect us in the immediacy. Is this Xbox Retro Classics thing? It's so as one knows, Xbox recently bought Activision Blizzard. They have announced that they are partnering with a retro game subscription service called Ant Stream Arcade to bring 61 of the ancient like Activision games to modern systems. They will be playable in there. It's just on Game Pass. You can also buy it if you wanted. It's called Xbox Retro Classics. It is currently 61 Activision games from way back in the day, because Activision was the first third party. They were like the
Yeah.
first major company that was just making games but didn't have a platform of their own. And so some of the games included are like Pitfall and Zork.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Pitfall.
For me, the big one actually would be Police Quest and Space Quest, because those point and click adventure games are like they're classics, and I've never found like a good way to play them before. So I'm excited to have a shot at this. And they're also saying that they're going to add new things to it monthly. So I don't know how long that'll last, because I don't know how many games Activision has made in the past. But
here's the thing.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on Space Quest, but I'm burned on that because I have it on Steam, so it's coming to my Xbox anyways. Apparently,
you have Space Quest?
I have the Space Quest collection on Steam. Yeah.
I didn't know that you even knew what the space, like the Roger Wilco as Space Quest games
Yeah,
were. That's genuinely surprising to me.
Hey, how you doing? I'm your best friend.
Whoa. Whoa, and you never told me, you bastard.
Well, let's play Space Quest. We got a fucking video game. There was the one. We got it for the channel.
They're funny. They're funny games. I've only played,
Yeah.
I think, 2 of them, and I don't remember which numbers, but
They're bullshit too. You
Oh,
get
yeah.
to the very end and you lose because you didn't pick up like a broken broom handle in the first half of the game.
Right. Yeah. No, it is old. Police Quest is the one that I think got the highest like critical reception. I always confuse it though with a different game I think called Police Knots. One of them is like the first Kojima game, and I don't remember
Ooh.
which one.
I don't know. I don't know Police Quest.
But because Ant Stream Arcade is already an existing thing, it has a library of like 1,300 games. So theoretically, if they partner with them and it goes well, some of those games could just be added to the Xbox Classics thing. I don't know how successful the Ant Stream Arcade streaming service is. It must be doing pretty well. It seems like it's pretty expensive though, because currently they're charging. It's 75% off for your first year if you have Game Pass right now, and that would make it $9.99. So I guess for an entire year, it's typically $40, which isn't terrible for a whole year, I guess.
Yeah, for a year that seems okay.
But I also don't know what the like. I don't know I don't know how many people are like clamoring for. I got to get my Zork on. You know what I mean? I'm excited to see what else gets thrown in there. Like right now, Ant Stream Arcade has retro games up to, I think the newest platform that they cover is like PlayStation 1. So theoretically, anything up until that point could show up on this. And Activision has existed for forever. They've existed since the dawn of time. It feels like, because they were on
Eons.
They were on like DOS and Amiga and shit. So
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. But you know what's not pretty cool?
I feel like I know what's not pretty cool, but I want you to say it.
Plagiarism.
Oh, that's not what I was gonna
What
say.
did you think I was gonna say?
I thought you were gonna say the Skibbity Toilet movie.
Oh no, but no plagiarism. So
Yeah, who's plagiarizing?
Bungie
Oh,
has
right,
entered
of
their
course.
theft era. They have been caught for now like the 5th time in the last couple years plagiarizing somebody else's work as part of their stuff. I took most of the information that I'm going to be talking about here from an article written by Stella Chung, Parallax Stella, from her website. So if anybody wants like a deeper dive on it, go give her a click. She's really good. I like her a lot. But basically, here's the situation. An artist by the name of Anti-Real, which is spelled in the most annoying way humanly possible. It's spelled like an Elon Musk child's name would be spelled. It is 4NT1R23IL, I think.
Oh boy,
It's insane.
Leet speak.
It's bad.
Wow.
They claim that their art was stolen. And by claim that their art was stolen, I mean that they looked at a trailer for Marathon and said, hey, that poster in the background literally has my name on it because you didn't bother to scrub my name off of it.
Wow.
Like,
wow.
It is as blatant as it could humanly possibly be. Between that and she also hid like references to, do you remember that webcomic Loss? It was popular for a while there. She hid.
I remember Loss.
Right. So for people who don't know, Loss was a webcomic by, well, I think it's Penny Arcade, who they like, it was a comedy thing forever. And then the artist in real life had, went through a miscarriage. And so all of a sudden there's just this really like sad comic page that got thrown up onto the webcomic. It was just, it's 4 panels of this guy running into the hospital and then finding his wife and being very sad about it. And it's been like, through meme culture, it's been like broken down into like, it can be represented by a couple of lines and people know what that means. Those lines have been put onto this artwork, which is now in Marathon because Anti-Real put it into her art and they stole it. So it's literally like my name's on it and this like very niche meme that I stuck in it is also on it. So like that's my shit and you didn't even bother trying to change it. And so
and Bungie admitted it. They were like, we're sorry.
Yeah, no. Bungie literally, they did the same thing that they've done with all these other previous things, which is they said, oh, well, that was done by an artist who no longer works for us. So we're going to reach out to the artist and make it right. And it's never been made clear whether or not they have made it right with any of the previous artists. So I don't know whether or not they have. What I will say is that in this instance, I'm more willing to believe it was done by somebody who no longer works there because they have recently fired like half the team. So realistically, it's like 50-50.
Well, when they say like that's a person that no longer works with us, you know, I immediately assume like, oh, they're in the dungeon.
Yeah.
They've locked them in the basement. They're not coming out.
You know, it's rough too because they had a stream that was planned for a couple days after this news broke where they were going to show off more of the game, but they couldn't anymore because the art that they stole from Anti-Real was so intrinsic to the sort of like visual language of the game that they didn't know like if they could show literally any clips of the game without featuring stolen art. And so what they did instead is they rolled out the art director and made him like answer questions about like, well, why did you steal this? And why did you think that this was okay? And the thing is like, he didn't. Like I felt genuinely bad for the guy because I don't know how long he's been in the position, but the turnover rate at Bungie lately has been so bad. I genuinely don't even know if he had any idea that this was happening.
Of course, yeah.
And second of all, why would you not just cancel the stream? Like this is you just like threw a body to the crows and it was this guy. Like that's fucked up. That was
a little bit.
Oh no, we're canceled. But that's awful, right? Like even if he had some knowledge that it was happening, like that's still a terrible thing for your boss to tell you to do. It's like, all right, yeah, go have fun with the wolves, buddy. When like this is not new, and it's not new to Marathon. It's not new to Bungie. It's not new to any aspect of this. Like I said earlier, this is the 5th time in recent years that they've been caught in this. So I took notes of what those times were. Last year, they were found using a fan artist's work. A fan artist called Tofu made a mock-up of a Nerf gun based on one of the guns from the game. And when the real version of that Nerf gun came out, it had the exact same like brush strokes and scratches on it as that guy's mock-up. And he was like, hey, what's up?
They just submitted the picture and were like, make this.
Yeah, basically. Last year, they also started getting sued by an author called Kelsey Martineau. Who filed a lawsuit that Bungie had stolen the base plot of Destiny 2 from their book.
Right.
And as soon as that happened, or I forget the exact timeline, but basically the reason Bungie might get away with that one is because Bungie has, what they said was vaulted that storyline. So the original, what is it called? The Red War story and the Curse of Osiris story, both of those have been vaulted, and those were where the majority of the like things stolen from his work, the author's work, were in. And they can't present that information to the court because they didn't just vault it like they said, they deleted it. So that information is just gone, and the judge is saying that like YouTube videos of it are not sufficient evidence. So they might get away with that one, which is also kind of nonsense. Also, can we talk about how absolute dog shit it is for a company to put out an MMO or any game and then a couple years into its life cycle be like, and we've deleted the opening 2 expansions. Like the base game and the first expansion, we deleted those. You can no longer play that. How do you be a new player for Destiny? At this point, I straight up don't understand.
That's something I never worried about because I never wanted to play Destiny, but now we have a show where we go back and play things that came out, so I don't know how to answer that.
We're going to have to figure it out at some point, and I think it's going to be a bad answer for us.
You know what? By the time we get to there, I might have built the power I need on this show to abstain. To say no. I'm just not playing Destiny.
By the time we get to that game might not even be playable. So it might not matter one way or the other at this point.
Let's hope for that.
Bungie might have been shut down by then. In 2023, they stole fan art from an artist called Element J21. And they used it in a super important cutscene that like told us the origin of one of the main characters. And so the audience was like, hey man, this is like a super important plot part and you have filled it with plagiarism.
Nice.
And then in 2021, an artist by the name of Relay 314, his fan art was taken for the Witch Queen trailer. And that one was extra grimy because they had entered it into a fan art showcase, and the people at Bungie were like, "Oh, well, we just thought that it got put in the wrong file. Ah, damn. And so the fan art didn't make it into the showcase, and it instead made it into the game." And they were just like, yeah, we did that. And then the artist was like, no, you didn't. And the crazy thing about it is like all of these times that they've stolen this art is it's from, with the exception of Anti-Real, because she was just doing her own like minimalist art thing, because no one's really like a fan of Marathon. It hasn't existed in 20 years. Right. But with the other ones, it's like they stole fan art for their own thing. Like they stole it from the people who are literally most likely to notice that it was taken. Mm-hmm. Like there's no shot that the people who took it thought that they were going to get away with it. Come on.
The person that claimed that like the plot for their book was stolen, that one's iffy. I that happens all the time with things. There's famously that lady that like sued the Wachowskis or whatever, allegedly, that she was like, I wrote The Matrix and Terminator.
Me. Yeah.
And everyone's like, what?
Although I will say, but deleting all of the content in question feels like admission to guilt to me.
You got a good point there.
But feels like they're like, oh shit.
But it's super damning when the thing you're stealing is just like, we can physically see what you've stolen. We can see it. Like we have evidence, and it's not just like words on a page. Like it's the art, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Some of the fan art was like it's like they got a rough draft and they sort of like decoed it up a little bit before they put it out there. Some of it is literally like the Nerf gun is like, that's the same thing. Like you did like one color swap on one thing and you said, there you go, there's the Nerf gun.
Nice.
And then like truly I think the Anti-Real one is the most egregious, and people are super pissed about it because the Marathon previews have already been coming back really negative. Like, not like, oh my god, screw this game, I hate this game, but like with very little positives. And the one positive that a lot of people had with it was the art style. And now people are like, well, you stole that, so what am I how am I supposed to root for you on this one, Bungie? You know what I mean? It's not a good time to be a Bungie person, apparently. And I feel bad for the people at Bungie, because apparently the morale of devs at Bungie is at like an all-time low. And dude, I get it. Like they have been laid off and like split into so many different teams that will never be able to keep up with the workload that they're being asked to keep up with. And then on top of that, it's like, and people are now mad at you for something that like probably one guy did Like
Yeah.
that sucks. That sucks so bad. The future of Bungie right now is looking real grim.
Bungie, let me give you some free advice with your art problem. All right,
Yeah.
you can take this. I won't even charge you for it. If you're gonna steal art anyways, just use Getty images, bro. Go full Mass Effect 3. Go full Mass Effect 3. Look up some stock photos, slap it in there.
Just
Your
slap that
players
in there.
probably won't even notice. And if they do notice, they'll mind less than you stealing from other people.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. Using stock
No,
footage at least is legal.
the reality of it, unfortunately, and this is an idea I don't want to give them, but I am going to say it anyways.
Yeah.
They're going to get in trouble for stealing so much. They're going to be like, "Well, fine, we'll just use AI." It's like, great,
I mean,
good
yeah.
job. Way
They're
to
gonna
learn the right
they're
lessons.
gonna get their own version of the AI Darth Vader that says slurs.
They type into the prompt like AI, please steal anti-reals art, and then it's going to come back with the same image anyways. And they're
Ah,
like, "See, it's
man.
not stolen. I made this."
I wish I could remember the artist's name, but there's an artist who his work has been stolen so many times by ChatGPT making AI art that
Yeah.
that people look at his art and think it's AI because they see the same art style.
It's unfortunate.
And he's like, "No, I swear to God, like this is just what my like they stole from me." But he's having a tough
Yeah.
time proving that because everyone like knows what the AI artwork looks like because it's like a whole talking point right now. And he's like, "No, they just literally put my name into the chat. They said make this guy's art, but with these two characters kissing or whatever."
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Skyler, let's get into the topic of the show. How do you want to do
Yeah.
this? Do you want me to do video game stuff first and then you do movie stuff after? Do you want to go back and forth?
Do you want to?
What
Well,
works best for you?
it depends what you want to close the show with. What's
Uh,
stronger?
Honestly, I think it's going to be a toss up.
I feel like you. Let's start with movies. Let's do that
Okay.
because I have notes for movies and I don't have notes for games.
Sure. Okay. Let me throw some questions at you and anything that I don't that you have written down already that I don't get to. We can
Yes.
throw that in at the end of the movie section. So for anyone who is confused as what we're doing, I am stealing this idea full front. I'm plagiarizing from.
Oh no!
I know. I'm
We're
stealing.
part of the
I'm
problem.
part of the problem. I'm stealing this idea from a recent Kind of Funny podcast where they opened their 10-year like time capsule where they were making predictions about where they thought that the video game industry would be 10 years from when they started because it's their 10-year anniversary. And so I was like, that's a cool idea. God knows if we'll make it to 10 years on this show. Who's to say? Probably not. Either way, it's a
I don't
fun
got
talking
anything
point.
else going on. I'll be here.
I mean, here we go. Let's see if it works out. But basically, they just made predictions of things that would happen or like what the state of these different companies would be in 10 years. And so that's what we're going to do for video games for me and for movies for you, because those are sort of our areas of expertise. And I'm sure we'll have at least input on the other half for both of us. So what I want to ask you is, let's start at the top of the thing we talk about the most movies wise here. What do you think the Marvel Cinematic Universe looks like in 10 years?
So I think we've taken note. Everything post Avengers Endgame has been kind of hit and miss, and the MCU has been dwindling, is the word I used earlier.
Right.
I think even if they started making some bangers, like back to back to back, let's say like everything Fantastic Four onwards, through I guess the next like two Avengers movies. Let's say like they're all like really good, really well received.
I do think the next two movies probably have a good chance of doing that because now it's Fantastic Four and then Spider-Man, right? Like those are the next two. And I feel like those two have a pretty good chance of being good.
I still don't necessarily know if that's enough to. I don't think the MCU can get back to what it was.
Get back to Endgame. That's a tough sell.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't think it's gonna reach that level of hype. I think the most we can get is super optimistically, we can get like 75% of that hype back. Like,
okay,
Doomsday comes out and people are super excited for it, and let's say it's a good movie, and then you'll have a bunch of YouTube videos saying like the MCU is back the
We're
same
back,
way
baby.
Same way our friend Abrar says after every MCU movie comes out, it's back. Um, but I don't think it'll ever reach what it was, and it'll just be like the peaks and valleys. I think the peaks will just keep getting less and less
Mhm.
as the comic book movie genre in general is kind of just replaced by whatever the quote unquote next thing is. And that is not to say comic book movies are going to go away. I
No.
don't think they'll ever go away. I think we'll always have comic book stuff. I just don't think they are the number one again, ever.
Yeah, I think that that's probably a good bet.
Were
Do
you
you?
looking for like a specific MCU like IP that they throw in there or
No, I
something?
mean you're
Where
welcome. You're welcome to make that claim if you want. I sort of
I
had
don't even
an
know.
idea of my own for where I think the Marvel, because I kind of agree with you. I think it's on the upswing again. I think it's going to start doing better than it has been, especially once we
Yeah.
leave the multiverse saga, because I think that's been a really like down point for a lot of people.
Hmm.
I think once we enter the mutant saga, which is I think what they've
Yeah.
announced the next one's going to be. I don't know if people have just been
I don't
saying that or
remember
if
if they
they
announced
specifically
that
said that.
officially, but yeah.
But once they enter that and we start getting like even once we start getting like casting for, oh, here's Jean Grey, here's Cyclops, whatever, I think that that's going to really excite people, because the X-Men is
Yeah.
like, that's like the big thing for Marvel, like Spider-Man
Yeah.
and then X-Men, like that is their tier list, and they've just made all these other guys popular when they weren't
Yeah.
super popular before. Like no one cared about obviously the Guardians, but even so, like
Mhm.
before the MCU, if you had been like, yeah, my favorite superhero is Thor, people would be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
who? Like they'd be like the guy from Norse mythology, and be like, yes, but you know what I mean? Like all
Yeah.
of those guys weren't like massive characters. Even Iron Man was like, the people who really got into comics knew him, but he wasn't like a household name. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think once they're back in the ballpark of like big banger names like the X-Men, I think that's going to really help
Yeah.
them, at least in terms of sales, for a while.
Well,
I
X-Men
think. Sorry, go on.
X-Men, as you said, like there's a list of like superheroes across the board. Superman, Batman, Batman more than Superman, I suppose. Spider-Man,
Right,
the
the big
X-Men.
three.
I think they almost like transcend the genre, and like they are just the pop culture icons, like there will
Yeah,
always be a Spider-Man movie in development somewhere. There will always be a Batman movie in development somewhere. Um and yeah, I do think X-Men have kind of reached that point, especially now,
yeah. I
where
do think
like
they're
yeah,
a
you
tier
make
below,
X-Men
but
anything.
they're big. They're huge for
Yeah.
sure.
That being said, I do think that like really only goes for the X-Men.
Yeah.
Obviously, like New Mutants, no one gave a shit. I don't think you can
When they do their
if you make an
Hellfire Club movie, people aren't going to be like,
if you,
"Oh my
yeah, if
god."
you make an X-Force movie like they were going to, Grandpa's not going to be like, "Oh, I'm excited for X-Force."
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But he'll go see Wolverine and Cyclops.
Man,
Um
I will say though, when they start casting that, there's going to be, first of all, I can't wait. I cannot wait for people being
mm,
like, "Oh my god, they make the movies woke." And when like they're talking about like all the mutant stuff that they're going to obviously talk,
oh,
cuz that's what X-Men has always been. They're going to be like, "Oh my
yeah,
god,
they've
Marvel's so woke now." And it's like, this is
they've
always what X-Men has been. I don't know what to tell you.
always been marginalized people,
Uh
yeah.
and then on top of that, they're going to be so pissed at whoever gets cast as the new Wolverine. It won't even matter if he's good.
No.
There's going to
That's
be
true.
so much anger at that guy. That being said, I do still think that my prediction, I would say for this, is I think the Mutant Saga goes really well for them. I think people are really into that. And I think at the end of 10 years, we're talking about like, wow, that really was the best version of the Dark Phoenix Saga. Because we're going to get
Oh,
that
we're doing it
again. We're
again?
doing it again. Yeah,
Okay, best version, but it'll still be the worst in whatever the MCU is doing at that time. Because
maybe.
the
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix Saga is cursed to never be good.
Yeah, we just can't do it. We're not allowed to have nice things.
Yeah,
Um
I think, and this is something that other people have been saying for a minute. We agree we're headed for like a full force reboot?
yeah, that's like sort of the prediction of the like after Secret Wars, that it'll be some kind of
You,
like soft reboot type deal.
you know what I think helps confirm that? I think them in this multiverse thing, especially in the next Avengers movie, with the X-Men specifically, before we even get to the quote-unquote mutant saga,
Mm.
we're bringing back Patrick Stewart, we're bringing back James Marsden, we're bringing back Rebecca Romaine. We already have, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Honestly, so rude of them to not bring back the actual main character of those movies. My girl, Femke Jensen, whatever the hell her name is. So rude.
Yeah, what the hell? Where is she?
She might just not be
But
announced yet.
it really does seem like a smoke 'em if you got 'em. Like, let's bring back all the old stuff now, because once we reboot, then we cast all the young people. And I think
Yeah.
that will go for,
So do you
they're going to
think
try to do a new Captain America and a new Iron Man, new everything.
Okay, so you think we get, because we've got like Sam Wilson, Captain America, and we're getting Riri Williams, Ironheart, but you think after Secret Wars that we get a new Steve Rogers and a new I almost said Robert Downey and a new Tony Stark.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I think they want to go clean slate. I
can
think
see
they're
that.
like,
I honestly
we're going to
could see
scale
that.
it back. We're going to get every role filled with actors 20 years younger than what the actors we have now. And we're just going to try again. I'm not saying like, oh, we're starting over, so we get a new Captain America movie. Like, no, I
Right.
think Captain America will be kind of like we see him in the background for a couple things until we get like another Avengers thing where he
Yeah.
shows up.
I think
Whoever
it's going to
plays him.
be I think you're probably right. I think that we will recast at least a lot of people. I do think number one, we're getting a new T'Challa. We're getting a new Black Panther. That's going to happen
definitely want to do
100%.
that.
But I think it's going to be a real uphill climb for them to recast like the new Marvel Trinity of Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. I think that's going to be really hard. That's going to suck for them. Whoever has to fill any of those boots, good luck.
Tough.
It's going to be a really hard.
And I think maybe part of that leads to what I was saying about like the diminishing returns of just like, even if we reach like a fraction of the hype, like, oh, MCU's back, we're not going back to the top, and it's just kind of slowly peter out until we just get Spider-Man movies for a while.
Yeah. Well, in getting back to the heights of Endgame, might not be possible because that was a cultural event. Like that was everyone was involved in that from 90-year-olds to 10-year-olds. Everyone knew what was happening. And I feel like the longer this universe goes on unbroken, the harder it's going to get back. It's going to be to get back there because it's going to be so much like, oh, well, I haven't watched the last 40 years of the Echo TV show and, Agatha all along. Like I didn't watch any of that. So, oh, well, this is a reference to this thing that happened 10 years ago on a Disney Plus show that I didn't care about. You know what I mean? I think that's going to make it harder and harder for people to attach to it. And so maybe they do need a hard break and reboot. But historically, Marvel doesn't do that in the comics. Like that's my biggest problem with Marvel comic books is that they never have rebooted their universe. And so it's just this constant deluge of like, oh, well, when you hear people talk about Marvel comics, it's like, oh, well, he was dead at the time. Well, he was in space. That was back when he was goo, and he's not goo anymore. Now he's a man again. And it's like, because everything that's ever happened in Marvel comics is still canon, and it is impossible to know what any of it means. And so it's like, as a person who wants to start at chapter 1, there is no chapter 1. It has never existed. It is gone. It has been lost from the Jedi archive. You cannot find it.
Closest is like when they started up the Ultimate Universe, or things like that, where it's a different thing and people don't like it as much because part of it's gross.
Ugh. Well, on the flip side of that, where do you think DC is in 10 years? Do you think that the James Gunniverse has any legs to it?
That one's harder to predict
because we have no precedent.
Yeah, we don't really know. I mean, we're all holding out hope that Superman's really good. I think DC and James Gunn at the helm, and I think they know everything I just said. Like that the comic book movies are very much in danger of being on their way out as top dog. And it seems they are charging headfirst into it anyways, hoping to break through the real I think I can of setting up a movie universe. And I think I don't know if they'll land exactly where they want to be, and by they I mean like Warner Brothers execs.
Zaslav
Like
or
we
whatever.
need to make the money that the Marvel made 10 years ago. It's like, well, that
Yeah,
was 10 years ago.
for sure.
So I think they will survive for a while. I think there will be years of like trying things and then course correcting. Like let's say the Authority doesn't make any money because no one knows what the Authority is. Not saying that's gonna happen, but let's
Yeah.
say
Well, that one
it might happen.
apparently might have been canceled.
Oh, sorry, Zack Snyder. We didn't get you. Well, yeah. Regardless, they're like, we have faith in this. We don't have faith in this. We had faith in this, and it didn't work. There will be
Yeah.
like trial and error, course correction until they inevitably land on the thing of just please just make another Superman movie. Please just make a Batman movie.
hmm
Please just make a
Please,
Justice League movie.
yeah, honestly, just show me one movie where
That's
Batman,
that's
Wonder Woman,
where
and Superman are all in it and all are good.
I think
Can I
that's
just get
where
that?
they'll land for a while. But I think it'll by hook or by crook, it'll last longer than not at all.
Yeah.
That's what I
I
think
think
about it.
I think it'll be successful. I don't think it'll be again, I think it won't go as big as like the MCU got. I don't think it'll hit the peaks of that. I don't know that anything will in the next 10 years. I think we're kind of in a holding pattern on that. While we
Mhm.
figure out what the next, groundbreaking thing is going to be. But I do think that the DC universe like is successful. I think that this thing of them just making the movies that they have good ideas for is going to pay off for them. I think it's going to become this thing of like, oh well, they don't all connect super hard, maybe
Yeah.
lightly, but the quality level is higher. And I think that sort of word of mouth of like, these movies are kind of their own things, but they're all good. Maybe not
hmm
great, but they're all good. I think that carries them.
hmm
And eventually we do have enough pieces of this that they're like, yeah, let's do the big crossover. And maybe that is, maybe that is 10 years from now. But once they have this whole universe set up, I think it's going to be pretty exciting. I don't know necessarily how long it's going to take them to get to a point where like people super, super care about it. But I will
Yeah.
say, I do think the Superman movie does really well. I think that the Superman movie is going to set them off on a good foot. The hype around it is huge. I think the marketing for it has also been huge. And like
Yeah.
you said, Superman is a huge name. Like people know him in every corner of the world. And so
Yeah.
this movie's going to come out and it's going to do really well globally.
Well,
Um,
talking about the marketing for it being huge, like,
yeah.
do you know what I've seen Superman commercials for every time I turn on my TV? Like during
Uh,
the NBA playoffs, the
there you go.
NHL playoffs, baseball games. Like we're getting this word of mouth out to old people,
Right.
not just sweaty nerds,
Can I tell you
but
something
like
that will
people like
piss you off?
watching everyday television. Yeah, what's up?
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. A
Uh-oh.
friend of mine who
That's
is who is our age.
that's never good.
He did not recognize the John Williams Superman theme.
How?
That's what I said. I played it
Just
for him and he's like, "No, I've never heard this before in my life." I was like, "Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?"
never heard it before in your life.
Yeah.
Has he never watched anything with Superman in it? Or
He
like
I asked him that and apparently he's only watched Man of Steel.
okay, well, it is true that they don't play the John Williams
It's true
theme
that
in that.
it's like the one that's not, and I do think the Man of Steel theme is also good. Obviously it's not John Williams good,
Oh,
but
the
I would
reason to
argue,
watch that movie is the music.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Or just to see Henry Cavill be super buff.
Shirtless and Harry. Yeah.
Shirtless and Harry. Way to go, baby. No, I would argue that the Superman theme is like one of the most iconic film scores of all time.
100%. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he's never heard of it. And then I did go to work and I asked people there, and there was a very clean line where it was people under the age of 20 had not heard of it, and people over the age of 20 were like, yeah, of course.
What?
Yeah. Although one of the Gen Z kids did recognize that it was John Williams, but they didn't know what movie it was from. So that's something, I guess.
That all right.
Yeah.
Now I
One
want
of
to
them was
interview
like,
that person.
one of them, one of my coworkers didn't recognize it, and I was like, "Have you seen any Superman movies?" And he's like, "I saw that one where Batman mollywopped him."
Yeah, okay.
I was
Yeah,
like,
okay.
"Ooh, man." So what I bring that up to say, this could be even though me and you and a lot of people our age and older have seen 100 different versions of Superman, this is a lot of people's like this is going to be their
First
like,
in.
definitive Superman. And I think
Yeah.
from everything we've heard about it, I think it's going to be a good first step. You know what I mean?
God, I hope so. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm excited for it, and I think that it could be a lot of people's like introductions to be like, oh my god, I love the Superman guy. Who is he? And then they're gonna get like, which is a crazy thing to say, but and then they're gonna be like, oh well, what are the good ones? Oh, I'm gonna go back and watch these George Reeves ones. I'm gonna go back and watch My Adventures with Superman. I'm gonna go and watch Smallville. Probably not Smallville, but I hope Smallville. So I think
We'll go back and watch Smallville.
I'm gonna watch Smallville like tomorrow. But I do think that this has a high potential of being successful in the DC universe, and I think that the reason, and I am biased, but I think that the reason for that is I genuinely believe that the DC universe characters have more like mass appeal. I think that they have that. I think
I agree.
I think Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they have lasted the years for a reason. Everyone knows who these characters are, even if they don't recognize the John Williams theme. Like you go to a elementary school and someone's gonna have a Wonder Woman backpack, and there's been like 2 Wonder Woman movies in the last 40 years. You know what I mean?
And only one was good.
And only one was good. But like
And even
people
that
know
was
this
just
character.
okay.
I mean, I liked it. Yeah, I don't think it was.
I'm fine with
great,
it. It's
but
just-
there was good parts. But so once we get that going, and if we have a good version of the Trinity, then it's locked up, and then we can start being like, here's Static Shock, here's the Teen Titans, here's these other things. If James Gunn can make Peacemaker something that people care about, I have faith as of right now in this universe. It's not going to be Endgame, but it's going to be a scattered series of really good projects. I hope.
It has potential to reach high highs.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's reason to be optimistic for that one.
But let's move out of huge things. There's a couple other questions about movies that I want to ask you. Where do you see A24 in 20 years or in 10 years?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Have they grown into like a massive publisher? Do they stay completely indie? Where are we looking? Are they still the art house one, but now with like huge budgets? Like, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so I've had this conversation with other people before about, because obviously there was A24 is huge.
Yes, but still
Huge
very art
right
house.
now.
Yeah,
It is very art house, and
it's
it looks
huge
like they're
in like public, in like what would you call it? Like mind space?
Yeah,
Would you mind
like,
share?
A24 movies have won Best Picture at the Oscars. Like they're not the underdogs. They're the two big ones right now are A24 and Neon, and there's a third one that I can't remember off the top of my head. Neon, I think, is there to take the place of A24 if A24 goes to Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Basically, the conversation that I had with others about this was like, because there was that story like A24 is getting higher budgets and we're going to start doing movies with The Rock. Although I think the A24 movie coming out this year with The Rock looks really good, like genuinely good. I think they're going to make him an honest to God actor.
We're going to force him
trying.
to play a person who isn't The Rock.
Yes, and we love to see it. But no, I think there's a very firm need for these kind of art house movies in the film industry. If not, like, your average crowd isn't gonna care,
Right?
but there is that like almost load-bearing need for like movies with this level of substance that they put out. That if A24 like sells out and they say like A24 is gonna make the new Iron Man movie, I don't know, I couldn't think of a good example, but let's say that happens. It's like that's weird. There are other.
They did market the Thunderbolts as like it was an A24 movie.
That's I think Florence Pugh said it's like A24 meets something Breakfast Club, something silly, whatever. I don't know. But I think there are other companies that exist, and there will be others to be born to like fill that vacuum if something happens.
Do you think they continue going more Hollywood, or do you think that they sort of like find this niche and just like put more budget into these like crazy ideas? Or do you think they start doing franchise movies?
I think they're gonna walk the line.
Okay.
I don't see them doing franchise. I see them taking big budgets. Maybe they'll land something that like, oh, this is gonna do a sequel.
Oh,
or
sure. They probably make
maybe
some new IPs,
I can
create a
see their
franchise or
first
two.
their first like tiptoeing into a potential like franchise is if they land some like vaguely obscure science fiction or fantasy like book that hasn't been made into a movie or has been made into a movie and it was bad and they're gonna try again. Like
Mm.
imagine
Like
like if
Dune.
A24 imagine if A24 said like, do you remember Ender's Game? We're gonna try to make it better.
Oh dear God, yeah,
And
yeah.
then
There's a
I
couple
could
of
see
books that I would
something
throw at them and be like, "Can you
like
make this
that
not suck?"
happening. But I think they're going to walk a line for a while of we still do what you expect from A24, and we're going to put out like these higher budget things that maybe you wouldn't expect. But I don't see them changing it a hell of a lot. But again, if they do, I think there are people ready
Ready to
to
back
fill
up.
the void and do
Yeah,
exactly what they're doing now because that's where the creative voices will flock to anyways. They'll just kind of like, ew,
yeah.
this
I hear you.
studio thing, I don't really like it.
Let me ask you sort of a follow up question to all of these. What do you think the role of movie theaters is in 10 years?
Oh God. Um I don't think they'll be gone in 10 years.
No.
I'm not that pessimistic. I think we are going to see, and we've already been seeing, like filmmakers and actors, they've reached the point where they're taking to the front lines being like,
Yeah.
please see my movie in theaters.
Right.
And I think we're going to see more of that. Um, the trick is not getting me to go to the movies. The
Right.
trick isn't even getting you to go to the movies.
I go a couple times
And
a year.
it's definitely not getting old people to go to the movies because that's all they do.
Right.
The trick is getting Gen Zers who don't know John Williams' Superman score to
Jesus
go to the
Christ.
movies.
I'm still hurt by that one. You're right. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. But I do think, and maybe we're on the same page as this one. I don't think movie theaters get any smaller than they are now. I think that we're at sort of the bottom point. I think that where we are right now, streaming services have sort of done the damage to movie theaters that they're gonna do. I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna get any worse for them. But I think for a multitude of reasons, the artists and directors and whatever asking people to go and see their stuff in theaters. I think that, as well as we're seeing a lot of like return to theaters currently. Like people want to talk a lot of shit about like, oh, movie theaters are dying, but then every year there's like 3 or 4 big things where you're like, oh, Minecraft did ridiculous, Barbenheimer did insane numbers, why is Sinners popping
Yeah.
off like crazy? And I feel like that's
Yeah.
going to continue to happen, and that's going to sort of draw more people into the theaters. It's going to be like, you need to see this in theaters, like this is a special thing, this is a big event. I think I don't know that it's going to like blow back up. I saw this interview recently. I think it was on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You with Kevin Smith, and he was saying like, oh, like movie theaters are going the way of vinyl, where he's like, the people who are really into it are going to be really into it and they're going to continue seeing it, but that's why like all the theaters are, instead of being like 300 seat theaters, now it's like 100 seat theaters where the seat rolls back and you get food and drinks and stuff while you're in there.
Yeah.
And I think that there's some truth to that. I do think that that's going to be that there, less people are going to go and see these movies just in general. But I do think that, I mean, anecdotally, we've seen in our own neighborhood theaters that
Yeah.
like Evo had to go and open an extra screen because people are coming back to the theaters. So I think
A
that
really shitty screen, but
a
yes.
really bad screen. I think that continues. I don't think that it shoots back up to like the 90s where like everyone was seeing everything in theaters because like that was the only place to see it unless you wanted to wait for it to go to Blockbuster. But I do think that movie theaters are going to like make a little bit of a climb back up where it's going to be like, we're not seeing every movie there, but I think like every other month there's going to be some like event movie that people have to go and see. I think
Sure, yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's what we're looking at. Like
Yeah.
when Superman comes out, people are going to go see that in theaters.
Oh, definitely. I as of recording this, the new Mission Impossible is out. I haven't seen it yet. The last one didn't do as well as they were hoping. I'm excited to see how many people come out for this one. So that'll be cool. Yes, in my own experience, when I saw Thunderbolts, granted a Marvel movie,
Right.
theater was pretty full. And when I saw Sinners, theater was damn near packed.
Hell yeah.
which was crazy to see. It
Did
was
you see
like, oh my
Minecraft?
god.
Because
I did
apparently
not.
that one was
No,
insane. Apparently that one
no,
sold out constant.
no. Listen, I was already saying
Chicken
that I
jockey.
wasn't gonna see Minecraft, but the second that it became a thing to go see Minecraft and throw your popcorn all around, I was that all chances of me seeing that movie had died a death. Let me tell you.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know if that's even one that I'm gonna like see on streaming or whatever.
no, I'm really not interested. As soon as you said that the person that said the vinyl thing was Kevin Smith,
Yeah.
I was so ready to disagree with him. But I
Right.
think he made more of a solid point than even he intended, because let me tell you a small little seemingly unimportant anecdote.
Hmm.
We have in our area where we live, a new like vintage record store. They
Oh
sell
yeah.
vinyls
I
and
didn't know that.
CDs and like stereo equipment. And I went in there to just check it out because I have a small budding vinyl collection because I'm a big loser.
Right.
I went in there to find Def Leppard and Black Sabbath because that's who I like. And there were people in there looking at vinyls.
Right.
And I don't just mean like, yeah, there are a couple old fogies come in and you're like, yeah, I bet you still have your old record player from the 70s. But then like some 17-year-olds came in to look at
Exactly.
CDs.
Yeah.
And
No.
I'm like, wait a minute. This is weird.
When I worked at Target, it was the same thing. I worked in the people listening probably don't know this. I worked in the electronics department of Target for a little over a year. The number one thing that we sold consistently was physical media. People keep telling me
Yeah.
that it's dying. We sold physical video games, and the number one thing that we sold like crazy was vinyls. Whenever a new Taylor Swift vinyl came out, gone instantly. BTS thing and Billie Eilish, like whenever that stuff came out, it was gone instantly. People were like coming up to my desk in the morning that it dropped, and they were like, "Hey, do you have that?" And like the truck hasn't shown up yet, and I have to go into the back and find the box that it's in and bring it out to them. Like that's the state that we're at. On top of that, like I've been buying a lot of like older retro games recently for replay. I went into Found It and Movie Trading Company and a bunch of the other places, and whenever I go in there, no less than 15 people. There's like,
Oh,
those stores always have people in them looking around buying stuff,
tons,
shopping.
tons of people.
I walked into
Yeah.
Best Buy the other day to recycle an old laptop, ghost town, and it was like
Well,
4 o'clock on a Friday. Dead.
let me tell you, for me, for Best Buy, you know what I used to go to Best Buy for?
Movies.
CDs, video games, movies,
They don't got it anymore.
like DVDs or Blu-rays. They don't sell Blu-rays anymore.
Hmm.
I think they might have like one kiosk of like new releases up by the register, maybe. I don't even know anymore.
I would believe that, but I didn't see anything when I was in there. I wasn't
They
really
still have
looking.
video
But
games, granted,
a little bit.
but their Blu-ray section is gutted, gone.
I think that's ridiculous. And here's the thing. I'm sure that it's not selling like insane numbers, the Blu-rays or whatever. But what I can tell you is every time I go into one of these stores like a Best Buy or a Target or whatever, where they're like, oh, we're like modernizing. People don't buy physical media anymore. They don't do this anymore. Ghost town. Nobody's in that bitch. And then I walk into these retro shops and they're packed. What does that say? I have never been into Found It Games and had less than 15 people in that store. Never
That
once.
store's always packed.
So what does that say? You know what I mean?
It
People,
says
people
to-
keep
to-
being like, "Oh my god, this thing is dying," and then you look at it, and just like movie theaters, when you look at the actual numbers, no, they're doing fine, if not better.
Yeah, what they mean is, oh, movie theaters are dying. Well, no, you're not going anymore.
Yeah, you're not going.
Other
anymore.
people are.
And it's the same thing
And
for. It's the same
I
thing for
think-
physical video games.
I think all of this to say, if movie theaters go the way of the dinosaur, it won't be within the next 10 years.
No, absolutely not. I actually think this is sort of a thing for both the video games and the movies. I think physical media makes a little bit of a comeback, and I think a lot of it has to do with digital rights. I think that becomes a big sticking point and a fighting point in the next couple of years. I think some big thing is going to happen where people sort of like wake up to the fact that they don't own shit, and like something's going to get taken out of everybody. It's going to be the opposite of that U2 album. Something big is going to be taken out of everybody's catalog, and they're going to be like, what the fuck? And it's like, yeah, you don't own that, so I can just get rid of it whenever I want because you don't own it. That's mine.
You know what? That U2 thing should have been the first. We don't want your shit digitally.
Yeah.
Don't just give me. You gave me something for free and I didn't want it.
On my PlayStation, I have like some art book for a video game, and I was like, I don't remember even buying this. Why is this in my library, and how do I get rid of it? Did you have anything else for movies, or should I move on to what I believe the next 10 years of video games looks like?
You know what? This is actually at least partly a good segue point because I have
Sure.
other things to say.
Hell yeah,
But we
brother.
were talking about like, okay, so comic book movies are on their way out as the number one thing. and the question is what's going to replace that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think there's a definitive answer in that, but I think the movie studios know where they're looking right now,
Yeah.
and that's video games.
It feels like it for sure.
The prime example is Alex Garland, director of Annihilation, Ex Machina.
Okay, some big ones. Yeah, we know those ones.
He wrote the 28 Days, Weeks, Years Later movies. He is now slated to direct an Elden Ring movie. Now I sent this to you, and I was like,
Yeah.
this sentence sounds fake,
It feels fake.
but it's not.
I also don't know what an Elden Ring movie looks like because the lore of that game is like already sort of buried. Like you can't have a 2-hour Elden Ring movie. Millennia shows up and is like, "Here's the lore of the Elden Ring." Like that won't.
I think
pass the smell check.
I think it's all just a grift to trick George R. R. Martin into further not writing any more books.
Yeah. I think that's a very likely truth.
But still, that's a prime example of video game movies. Like we've seen a bunch be made in recent years. Uncharted a couple years ago. They're looking to video games. I think you can see them like eventually their eyes will land on anime or kids cartoons from like 10 years ago. We're trying to reach like that generation.
Sure,
we're trying to trick people. The people who aren't going to the theaters, we need to get them, and so that's why we're shifting to having streamers and content creators in everything.
There is this push for like the 80s 90s aesthetic. I could see us going back and making movies from like things that were big in childhood back then. I could see like, I mean, we've already seen some of it and it's all failed, but like going back to it, I could see like, oh, we're doing a He-Man movie, we're doing a Gem and the Holograms movie, we're doing a Scooby-Doo movie that doesn't look like whatever the Scoob movie that came out recently was. Like I could see that getting another push too at some point.
They are making a He-Man movie. They did make a Gem and the Holograms movie.
They did, and it was apparently bad.
I don't even think it was like I don't think they tried.
Yeah.
But what they're going to try to do to get young people into the theaters is they're going to lean in to the meme culture, the meme content, the chicken jockey. Like there was that
absolutely they're going to be looking for what's the next chicken jockey moment.
There was that thing where the director of the Minecraft movie was like, "Hey, all you kids, we have special new screenings of Minecraft where specifically for you to throw your feces and spill your slushies on each other's heads and go absolutely apeshit. Just do it. Just pay the price of admission, and you can abuse any theater employee you want."
Yeah, hell yeah. As a former theater employee, based.
So that I think they're gonna try to like you look at Chicken Jockey. But then, as you mentioned, Barbenheimer
also, that's I would say a different style of meme, but it did take off in that same way.
It's trending.
Yes.
Whatever if we can get a movie trending that gets people to go in and film the screen. Now, this is a very pessimistic look. I just talked about how like people love movies and people are going to keep seeing movies and movie theaters aren't going to die. But I think in order for them to try to capitalize on, we got to get the young people, we have to make everything so much worse.
It's going to get worse before it gets better. Not in terms of people seeing movies. Probably more people will see movies. But for a little while at least, the movie-going experience is going to suck ass as people like, hey man, it's that meme. Here's the Skibbity Toilet. Here's the Fortnite movie. And like all of the Gen Z kids go in there and like do whatever nonsense they're going to do. Yeah, it's going to be rough for a minute there.
Yeah.
But I bet both of those movies make a zillion dollars if in fact they come out.
Despite all this horrible crap, I think the movie Sinners proves, like on its own, that lesser known, smaller, or original ideas will always be prevalent. Those won't go away.
Yeah.
So we still have that to look forward to.
And can be successful. Because that one, I think, did better than anyone even thought.
Last thing I'll kind of get into is the dreaded AI problem.
Ooh.
I'm going to optimistically say that Hollywood and filmmaking will eventually find a place for AI that's mostly appropriate. Like I don't think AI will go away now that it's here.
No, absolutely not.
I think there will be we'll find a middle ground. I think of like when they're like, oh, we've taught this AI with permission from the guy to mimic James Earl Jones's voice. So now we'll have Darth Vader forever. Let's assume that Hollywood has learned that people don't want that, or at least they will learn it if they haven't so far.
Yeah.
I do think there's still going to be moments coming up where they're like, well, we'll outsource this to AI and people will lose their jobs, or like, hey, we can make this with AI and we'll get absolute slop.
Oh,
That will
absolutely.
happen
There's going to be
within
AI
the
movies for sure, and they're
within
going to
the
be
next
terrible.
5 years. I'm hoping within the next 10 years, we've
gotten back on
kind of
track.
learned the lesson and we bounce back from that, and then they find the use. Like so many
Yeah.
filmmakers are like, well, we're hoping to find AI as a use for like as a tool. It's like, yeah, find that and have it not be this awful shit you're trying to do now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that both in video games and in movies, I think AI is going to get worse before it gets better. But I think by 10 years from now that we've sort of figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Not that
And
it's
then,
like good, but that we've sort of
yeah,
found the ground it's going to sit on.
yeah. And then I'm going to end my movie predictions by an absolute Hail Mary here.
Yeah.
Going to get really specific. I'm going to say, here's my prediction for
Okay.
streaming services. Every single massive streaming platform except for Disney, they'll say no, they don't want to.
Okay.
They don't need to. All the others will join forces. Paramount, HBO,
Oh, we make
Apple, Amazon,
big swing on this one.
they'll all join forces to create a new platform called Cable TV Plus.
Cable TV Plus. That'd be really funny. Genuinely.
All right, that's it for movies. That's all I got.
All right. Where do you want to start on the video game side? You want to start PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, or Steam? Those are sort of the four big ones I got here.
Ooh. Let's start with PlayStation.
Okay. I think PlayStation is the one that's going to see the most change in the next 10 years because I think that they kind of have to. I think right now they are the one that is the least positioned to do well with the current the current administration and the current like economic climate that we live in. And their live service initiative is failing catastrophically. Their numbers are still looking good, but then when you look at why they're looking good, it's like, oh, well, we made more money because we fired 60,000 people or whatever. Like our overhead is less. Like we're making more money because we're paying less to our people. Or like we're selling more third-party games, and it's because Xbox is putting their games on their platform. So they are sort of covering up right now the fact that they're not hitting. Right. And I think maybe Ghost of Yotei is going to come out this year and it's going to do great. And people will be like, oh my God, they're so back. But they're not really because like when's the next one? You know what I mean? I think they'll be fine. I don't think PlayStation's going to like go out of business or anything. I think in the next 10 years, a couple of things will happen. Number one, they will go completely multi-platform. I think once Steam is on Xbox, which would be like probably 2027, whenever the next console comes out, I think that they just go like, okay, well, it's there anyway. We may as well just port it ourselves and look like the good guys, right? Because the guy who's in charge of PlayStation right now, Hiroki Totoki, he's very much a money man. He looks at the numbers. He doesn't care about anything else. And I think he's probably looking at the fact that right now, like 6 of the top 10 most purchased games on PlayStation are all Xbox games. And he's probably going like, well, why aren't we putting our games on other platforms too? You know what I mean? So I think that that's absolutely going to happen. What I also see though is I think that they're going to be too slow because they've always been too slow of like adjusting to things, and it's going to cause we're already seeing it. It's going to cause their stock value to drop real bad. And I think that they're not going to weather this tariff thing well. And I think PlayStation is going to end up getting bought by somebody. I think that one of these bigger tech companies is just going to buy PlayStation, whether that's Amazon or Apple or whatever. I think in 10 years, it's not Sony PlayStation, it's something else PlayStation. And PlayStation will still exist and it'll still be a huge brand in video games. I don't think Sony owns it or even potentially exists because they are just not doing a good job of like keeping up with the times. I do think that when the PS6 comes out, I think it'll do worse than the PS5, but I think it'll still do well enough that people are like, wow, there it goes. It's doing its thing. But it will do worse enough that people no longer like stand on the high ground of like console sales are the only thing that matters, because it doesn't, and it never has. Like software sales is where they make their money. So I think that we're going to start finally seeing that transition from like, oh, they don't really care about how many consoles have sold. They care about monthly active users. They care about like how many people are buying their games, how many people they have in their ecosystem. And so they're going to need to start like making that pivot to like making PlayStation Plus and PS Now not suck. They're gonna have to figure out how that works, and probably because I think once Xbox has Steam on their platform, I think that they're gonna drop the necessity to pay to get online play. I think they're gonna drop that, and so PlayStation will have to follow suit on that. I think there's going to be a lot of change as far as like the video game industry in the next 10 years. It's going to be a lot of change in terms of exclusivity. I think everybody is going to be putting their stuff everywhere except Nintendo. Although I think they're going to be doing a lot of like third party partners, where I think maybe they'll be like how Ubisoft did the what was it, the Mario plus Rabbids like XCOM type game. I think they're going to do more of that, where they like sort of lend their stuff out. But I think that they're going to be the last ones to hold on to like my exclusives. Like that's going to be them, because I also think that they're going to basically need that because their consoles don't work for third party stuff. But I'm sort of moving out of the PlayStation sector now. Yeah, is that's basically the long short of it. Is I think that PlayStation is going to take a step back in the next 10 years, because I think they're going to get hit really hard. I think they're going to get hit the hardest by the current economic situation, because I think they are set up the worst to deal with it. They aren't on multiple platforms. They aren't in like a live service category. They've been failing that consistently. And so they are relying exclusively on the sales of their first party exclusive games, and they aren't putting any of those out. And then they're going to start charging like $90, $100 for these things, and people aren't going to want to buy them because they already don't really. So
right.
I think it's going to be rough for them. But yeah, I started talking about the Nintendo side of things, so let me go there next.
Yeah, let's hit it.
I think Nintendo is the least changed in 10 years. I think that they will be very much exactly how they are right now. And I think that that's just how Nintendo always is they don't change because they don't have to. Their fan base does not ask them to do anything. They say, give me new Mario and I'm happy. And that's all it's going to be. I do think Switch 2 will do worse than Switch 1, because I don't think it possibly could. Switch 1 was such a massive success that Switch 2, with all of its bad press and the fact that the pre-orders are not doing super great already, I think is not a great sign for them. But I think that it will still do well enough that people will be like, we'll still think that like Nintendo is dominating the game space, and they will be, in terms of like their own fan base will just solidify more into this like almost cult adjacent fan base of like, yeah, I don't care, I'm going to do whatever Nintendo asked me to do because they have the Mario and they have the Pokemon, because that's what the Nintendo fan base always has been. And I think that that's fine. You know, if that works for them, I'm happy for them. I think that the third party support on Switch 2 is going to be bad. They've started saying like, oh, we're going to get a lot more third party support on Switch. I don't think that that's going to hold true. The Switch 2 is already less power, because the next 10 years is basically going to be the entirety of the Switch 2 life cycle, and then like maybe 1 year of whatever is after that. So a lot of my sort of talking points for Nintendo is just like, how do I think the Switch 2 is going to do? I think third party is not going to do well for them. They have already started showing clips of like, this is how Final Fantasy VII Remake runs on the Switch too, and it looks like ass. And that was a PS4 game, and it runs at like 4 frames a second, and the cutscenes are super jittery and not good. And one of the things that they're saying is like going to be one of the big third party like, oh my god, we got this games, are Cyberpunk and Red Dead 2. And I do not believe that either of those games are going to run even remotely well on the Switch. It's going to look like a slideshow, both of them.
Yeah.
Especially Cyberpunk. That one runs bad everywhere.
Yes.
Even on like good computers, it runs like ass. So it's not gonna run well on Switch 2. I tell you that, because it's the Switch 2 is like almost as powerful as a PS4. I think the further we get away from like, they're gonna have a boost right at launch of like, here's all the third party support that we can get from the PS4 and Xbox One generation of video games. And as soon as like that starts drying up, we're gonna go right back to where we are now of like third party stuff just doesn't come to Switch because it can't.
Yeah. So I do have an interesting question, I guess, to follow up with that.
Yeah.
Is looking past Switch 2, whatever Nintendo does next for a console, do you think they'll try to boost the power in order to like, oh, well, like this is how they learn, like, well, in order to keep up with third party stuff, we need more power? Or do you think Nintendo just completely just like, oh, third party stuff doesn't work with us, so let's just not bother?
I think it's definitely more likely to be the second one. I listen to a lot of different podcasts from a lot of different gaming fan bases, right? I listen specifically to like, here's the Xbox fanboy podcast, here's the PlayStation fanboy podcast, here's the Nintendo one.
Mm-hmm.
The consistent thing that I see in those is Xbox and PlayStation fanboys are asking for power and are asking for better stuff. Like they sort of consistently ask their fandom for more, and the Nintendo fanboys are just like, I'm happy with what I have, and I'm glad for it. But like, if right now they're happy getting basically just Nintendo games and then ports of games from 10, 15 years ago, I don't think that that's going to change for them. I think that that's going to stay pretty much exactly how it is now.
So Nintendo won't because they don't have to.
Nintendo won't because they don't have to. I think that the only area that I see fundamental change coming in the next 10 years is the Pokemon franchise. That is the one where Nintendo fanboys like will not stand next to it anymore. They're like, this is terrible. And it still sells great.
Yeah.
Like it's still making the money.
Yeah.
So they're not voting with their wallet, but at least they're speaking against it. So I think
You're
that
right.
we're going to be seeing technological increases on the Pokemon side, but I think that it's only going to be like, oh, we're catching up Pokemon to where Zelda is and where Mario is. I don't think it's going to be like, and now Pokemon is on the same level as Cyberpunk or Red Dead or something. Like, they're never gonna be that guy. I also think that at the end of 10 years, we might be seeing some push for them to put their older games on other platforms. I don't think they'll do it, but I think people will start like demanding it, because at that point they're going to be I believe going to be the only people not doing it, and people are going to be like, well, why can't I play Pokemon on my PC? Why can't I play it on my PlayStation? You know. But I think if that did happen, I think people would kind of stop buying Nintendo consoles, because the Nintendo hardware has always been objectively bad. Like, people buy Nintendo hardware for the games because the Nintendo catalog has such cachet and such power that people are like, that's my Pokemon machine, that's my Mario machine. They don't care that it runs at 30 frames a second and has frame drops, and every time you hit the scan button in Tears of the Kingdom, the frame rate drops like a rock. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
Because it's Zelda. And like, I'm happy for them. Like, I don't even mind that much when I'm playing a Pokemon game that it's if a Pokemon game was even like 20% better than the recent ones, I would be happy, and that would still put it 75% behind where open world games are in the rest of the industry. So like, yeah, I don't think Switch 3 or whatever, I don't think is like a huge technology. I don't think they'll ever catch up power wise to where Xbox, PlayStation, and like especially PC are, because I don't think they have to. I don't think anyone's asking them for that. And I think that they sort of have made that niche of like, we're going to be the less powerful one, and we'll sell it for a little bit less, and then people will show up and play our IP, and that is it. And I think they're kind of okay with that. I think that they want third-party support. I don't think that they're ever going to put in the effort to get it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they would. They would love nothing more than for Grand Theft Auto 6 to launch on Switch 2. It's never going to happen. It's not going to be possible. I also think that Switch 3 will be another one of these like hybrid handheld consoles. I think that that's working for them.
Yeah, I guess that would be my next question, is like, because obviously assuming that they don't care about the power to the extent that where they want a Grand Theft Auto 6, I guess.
Yeah.
Do they keep going like handheld, take it with you on the road type dealio? Because do you ever see them going back to a full like hooked up to the TV 24/7 console?
No, I mean, maybe ever I could see it in the next 10 years. No, I think Switch 3 is also another hybrid thing. I think that the furthest that we're going to get is what we're seeing with Switch 2, which is when it's docked, it runs pretty good, and when it's in handheld, it runs real bad. I think I think that's where it's going to be, and I don't think people will care necessarily, because the people just want to like, I don't know, take the Switch on an airplane or play it on the toilet, and like, they don't. If I'm taking a dump and playing Mario Kart, I don't care. That's 15 frames a second. You know what I mean?
Maybe not the dump part, but I do. Whenever I travel, I do take my Switch with me. Like, sure. So
yeah, so it's like, and I think when you do that, like, you accept that it's going to run a little bit worse, right? Because that's already how it is. It already runs worse handheld than it does docked, generally speaking.
Well, I guess it depends on what you're playing, right? Like, Animal Crossing doesn't really matter.
No, well, yeah, and that's the other thing is like, with the exception, I would say, of like maybe Tears of the Kingdom, like the big open world Zelda games. Like, I don't necessarily think frame rate and performance really matter all that much to Nintendo. Like, they've always been really good at making games that do really well.
Parameters.
Yeah, they're like, we know what our power set is, and we know how to make it work within that.
Yeah.
But another interesting thing that was brought up on the Kind of Funny podcast that I'm stealing this from, that I kind of agree with, is the Nintendo leadership is all going to be retiring in the next 10 years. Like, all the people, because the people who started Nintendo in like the franchises that we love, they're for the most part still there, and they're like 60. So they're all going to probably start retiring soon. Like, Miyamoto, I don't think still works at Nintendo in 10 years in anything other than like maybe a producer role. Like I don't think we see another Miyamoto game. And so this next generation of like Nintendo people, I'm sure they've worked there for like 20, 30 years at this point, but this next generation of leadership is going to step in, and it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. And so that might throw everything out the window. That might be like, well, we do want to be more powerful. We do want to have more third-party support. So that's impossible for me to predict. I don't foresee that happening, but we are going to see new leadership. And I think we're already seeing that a little bit with this new Donkey Kong game. That's brand new leadership. So I think that's partially why that game feels so unlike any other previous Donkey Kong game, is because it's new people. So I think that's kind of exciting. On the conversation of like the handheld side of things, a lot of companies right now are talking about making handhelds. The Steam Deck has existed. There's like this ROG Ally Xbox thing that's coming out. People are talking about like PlayStation doing another handheld. I think that's all going to fail. I think all of that's going to fail.
I don't disagree with you, because I was thinking about this too, about handheld stuff. And what do I play handheld? I play Animal Crossing. Sure, I can play Zelda and Mario and everything on the Switch. Would I want to play Red Dead 2 handheld?
Absolutely
no.
Not.
I think I would want to put that on at the very least, a computer screen, but most likely a big TV, right? So right. I don't want to be craning my neck playing this like 48-hour story game.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. This is the same thing to me as the motion controls thing. People saw Nintendo being successful with the Wii, and they were like, well, we want to do the Wii thing.
PlayStation
and so
Move
PlayStation Move and Kinect happened, and they both failed. Even though the Kinect tech and the PS Move tech worked and was, for the most, like, worked well enough and was good, like, the games were never there, the support was never there, and people didn't want it because everyone saw, Nintendo's being successful because of this new thing that they're doing, and they didn't realize it was like, no, they're doing well because they're Nintendo and they're throwing something new at their people, and that's all they want, because Nintendo people so rarely get like genuinely new ideas.
Also, like, the motion controls worked for the motion control games, like Wii Sports and Wii, like the things that we wanted to use the motion for, but anytime they tried to incorporate those motion controls into an actual like Zelda game where you have to swing the Wiimote to play Skyward Sword, everyone was fucking pissed.
Yeah, hated it. And I think that this is the same thing. I think people are, I think Microsoft and Sony are seeing like, oh, the Switch is really successful. It must be because it's also a handheld. And I don't think that's true. I think the Switch is being successful because it wasn't the Wii U. And because I think people being able to take it on the go is like a nice little thing. I don't think it's the selling point. I don't think people actually really care about that much, because realistically it's like, where are you playing it on the go most of the time? Is what, in bed? Yeah, well, you probably have a TV in your bedroom too, so you can just play it in your bed already. Like, just have a controller in your hands. It's fine. We're wireless now.
That's a good point that I did not factor into my handheld argument, is how much of playing handheld is just, I want to multitask.
Yeah.
I need to binge watch Hell's Kitchen while I play my video game.
Exactly. And so all of these are going to fail. The Switch 2 will still be successful because, again, it's not the handheld reason that it's selling. It's because it's Nintendo. The Steam Deck, we've already seen, like, is not selling well. It is the best selling handheld thing right now, not prefixed by the word Nintendo. And it has sold like 3 million units. That's not enough to justify its existence. It's not going to continue to get, like, if we see another Steam Deck, I'll be mildly surprised. The only difference there, I guess, would be that with Steam Decks, it doesn't have to be like a new SKU. And so they can just like put those out and be like, okay, well, I hope this works. And then like it just plays the games that are natural on Steam. And I think that's also going to probably be the case for the PlayStation and Xbox ones that are coming out, is they're not going to make like, here's the Vita version of this game. Like there's not going to be like dedicated handheld video games. And I think that will help it. But I think that all of these companies are wildly overestimating people's desire and ability to pay an extra like $400 to get a handheld that they'll use once a year when they go on vacation. It's just not going to happen. And there's not enough room in the market, frankly, for the 7 that are already out, let alone the 5 more that we know are like in the works. Like, all of these are going to fail. There's not enough room for this. People don't care. Speaking of Steam, though, I think Steam is also going to see a lot of change for 2 major reasons. Number one, Game Duel is going to retire. Yeah. And when that happens, or just before that happens, Steam, which is currently privately owned, is going to go public. And they're either going to go public or they're going to sell. And if they do sell, then someone's going to come in and change it a lot. And honestly, Steam probably needs a shakeup because it's a mess right now. Yeah. If it goes public, it's going to get destroyed. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a mess. And I think that's also going to be a big push for like this digital rights thing, because whoever comes, Gabe is good with digital rights. because he is the guy in charge of it. If an Amazon comes in and takes over Valve, they're not going to be good with it.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And as soon as something like that happens, or even when there's a board of directors and they're like, well, why are we holding up like server space for this digital thing that sold like 10 copies? And they're just going to start deleting shit off of the library. And that's going to happen a lot. And I think, so it's going to be this big mess for digital rights. And I think that's going to become a huge lawsuit, like a huge class action lawsuit. And I think there's also going to be a lot of arguments on top of that of like, I think that people are starting to get really fed up with Steam in terms of the, like, you don't have any control over the stuff that is being put on your platform. And so you're getting all of these like school shooting simulators and all these other things. And I think that's going to come to a head. So I think in the next 10 years, Steam is going to have like a come to Jesus moment where it's like, Gabe is retiring. We need to figure out what to do. We need to have a better way of running this platform where it doesn't get like straight up criminal video games hidden into the backbone of our marketplace. We can't have that, right? And so they're going to have this like big moment of like, what is Steam now? Without Gabe, what does Steam look like? And hopefully it's an improvement depending on who ends up buying them, which I do think is the most likely scenario. I think it could really suck. And I think it's going to be a big thing where whoever buys Steam, it's going to be such a mess that people are like, I wish that PC didn't move away from physical media. Like, I genuinely think that they're going to be like, they've deleted my library or something.
Ooh.
You know, I think there's going to be something in there that happens that like wildly pisses people off.
Yeah. Is there a likelihood of, as we mentioned, they're like doing deals with Xbox and Microsoft. Is there a likelihood of them coming to a deal enough that they can kind of safe haven themselves from any of that with a bigger company before Bezos finds it?
It's possible. Gabe does strike me as the type of person who, before he retires, would just like give the company to somebody who he trusts. And he is a Microsoft person. There is a non-zero chance that in the next 10 years, Steam is owned by Microsoft. That could happen. I don't know necessarily that I want that. Because I feel like that would be like a big monopoly question, because Steam is like the biggest singular marketplace in video games.
Yeah, but the words "owned by" is a bit.
Yeah, if Gabe was choosing a person to sell Valve to, it would be Microsoft. That there's no doubt of that in my mind. So I don't know if I'm like for that, but I do think that Microsoft would take better care of it than like Amazon. So I guess there's that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you're saying like if Amazon bought it or
Apple or something.
Apple, but Amazon seems the most appropriate and evil answer.
Yeah.
Where they just buy it and they're like, "What is this? We don't care. Delete it."
Right.
Whereas you put it in the hands of like actual like video game company people, like on any side of the board, they're just like, "Well, this is a video game and we know that people play it and we might be able to price gouge them, but at least it won't go away."
Yeah. Well, and
something like that.
And if Gabe wanted to sell to somebody who's already in the games industry, the only company I think that has the money to even buy it at a half respectable price for what it's worth would be Microsoft. PlayStation doesn't have that money. They just blew their whole load on Bungie, and that's been a wash for them. Nintendo makes a ton of money, but they also spend pretty much like their profit margin is pretty low. Like they spend all that money again on all their games and stuff. Like they don't have buy Valve money, and also I don't know that they would ever even like want to. So
I don't know why it would cross their mind if like
Nintendo like really just
can
does
only
their own
run
shit.
their own games. Yeah,
they don't care. So Microsoft would be like the only one in the games industry right now that could even realistically buy them, and I don't know that I would want them to.
Right,
but then I also look at it and I'm like, yeah, them owning Valve would be like a gross monopoly question of like, is this okay? It is technically a different marketplace. So like, I don't think it would be any worse than like Disney buying Fox, but also I had some questions about Disney buying Fox. So like I have those same questions here. For me, that would be like the lesser of the evils. Like it would still be bad, but I feel like they would handle it better.
It comes down to the question of like, well, what happens if they don't? Though?
Yeah. I don't know that there's a better option. Other than like maybe if Gabe has a successor inside Valve, but even then, like I don't know if I trust whoever that is. So we'll have to see. But Gabe in the next 10 years, 1000% retires. Like he's
some real Game of Thrones politics once Gaben retires.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's gonna be the Silicon Throne is up for arms. But speaking of Xbox, I feel like I've been sounding a lot like an Xbox fanboy lately. And
Well, you said last time we talked about them, it's
yeah,
only because they haven't done anything bad recently.
yeah. I mean,
So,
they have
whereas
laid
the
off.
other
Well,
ones,
Microsoft has laid off people, maybe not the gaming division so much. And
sure.
like Microsoft also raised the price of the Xbox. I mean, in accordance with the tariffs. Like, I feel like a lot of the things that they've done bad, you can kind of be like, oh, but that's because of this, and that doesn't make it okay. But
Mhm.
it's at least less bad than like, oh, and Nintendo is making you sign away your rights to class action lawsuits.
Oh yeah, that's
So
classic.
yeah, again, it's just like the lesser of the evils, I think, for Xbox on this one. But the accidental Xbox fanboyism is not going to stop here, because I think that Xbox is the most positioned right now to be successful during this like bad economic time, and I think that they're going to really take advantage of that. I think
Mhm.
because they are multi-platform, the fact that like everything is going to cost $1 million more is going to hit them a lot less than everybody, because like, oh, well, you didn't buy an Xbox, but you can still buy it on PlayStation, you can still buy it on Switch, you can still buy it on PC, right? Like, that's going to really help cushion them and protect them from that. I think once they get Steam on their platform, I think that's going to bring over a lot of people from the PC ecosystem, because a lot of people want the PC ecosystem because it's where the majority of games are. Like PlayStation games put their games there, Xbox put their games there, and then there's the PC stuff. If that's also just on Xbox, I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, this is just easier, so I'm going to buy the console, because that's the reason the console existed in the first place. So I really do think that the existence of like a Steam activated, whatever you want to call it, console would draw people to buy that instead of a PC, because it would be cheaper and it would just be easier. Like, it is the ease of use that is the reason why console gaming
Mhm.
exists.
Mhm.
And I think that just putting Steam and some of these other PC marketplaces onto a console would be enough for people to be like, I don't want to spend any more time on my computer. Let me move to the living
Right.
room at least.
And presumably, a famous example as far as like buying a video game on Steam and it just doesn't work is Fallout 3.
Right.
Do you think there'd be
Or
some sort of
Sims.
like, or oh yeah, recently Sims. That was a problem we had. Do you think like there'd be support on like the Xbox side of things? They'd be like wagging their finger, like, "You fix this."
I don't. I don't think that
If it's
Xbox can make Steam good, but
no, if it's bricked on the Steam side, then
it's still
oh
bricked.
well, damn.
But I do think that there might be a situation where, because that wouldn't even really go through their customer service. I think that it would be a situation where like it just is over here, and then that becomes a situation where people are like, well, I can buy this on the Xbox store and have Fallout 3 work when I buy it, or I can buy it on Steam and have it not work at all. And I think maybe that's another like come to Jesus moment for Steam, where it's like, yeah, dude, maybe you should require that the games that you sell people actually work. Maybe you should actually
Like,
check on that.
you'd like to
Make the
think
games that you
so.
sell people work, and get rid of the school shooting and other terrible simulators off of the thing. Like,
Yeah,
maybe you take
like
literally any responsibility for the state of your marketplace.
quality check, quality control, something like on that level.
Yeah, I think so. Between this future Steam integration, uh, and the way that they've positioned themselves as like also a multi-platform publisher, I think that's going to really help them draw people in, because this ecosystem thing, we've already seen it drawing a lot of people in. Like, I was already talking about Kind of Funny earlier, so I'll bring them in. Greg Miller, I love him. He's a huge PlayStation fan, and he's not ashamed of it, and I don't think he should be. He's been a PlayStation guy forever. He's worked the IGN PlayStation beat for like, what, 15 years or something, and now he has his own company, and he's still a PlayStation guy. Like, he's true and blue, and he's not ashamed of it. I know that people get like really territorial about video games for some reason, but like, he has a preference, and that's fine. But he's been saying recently on his podcast that like he is buying and playing most of his games now on Xbox because of the combination of Game Pass being just like this really easy place of entry, which I think is also another reason why Xbox is going to be really successful in the next couple of years, is because when everything's more expensive, if you can have a subscription service that's like, 15, $20 a month or whatever it is, and then you get all of these games and their catalog is looking better and better every month at this point. Like, they just added Metaphor, which is like game of the year last year. That's going to become really appealing to people, and he's on the go a lot. And so him being able to have the Xbox has this like dual entitlement program where when you buy it on the Microsoft Store, you can also play it like you can play it on your console, you can play it on your PC, you can play it on your like Steam Deck and all that stuff. And so that's been really good for him and for a lot of other people, because the saves just move automatically. You don't have to mess with it. It just goes to the cloud and you pull it down on whatever device you want to play it on. And there's a lot of that like ecosystem work that I think is really going to benefit people, where they're like, there are so many things, just minor things that I don't even think about when I'm playing on my Xbox, that then I go to play games on other places and I'm like, oh, that's right, this sucks here. Like when I go to my PlayStation and I open the game and I'm like, oh, that's right, Quick Resume doesn't exist on PlayStation. So now I have to boot this thing back up and like, did I save recently when I closed it? I don't remember. You know what I mean? So, and I think a lot of that ecosystem stuff is also going to do a lot of like good for them. So I really genuinely think, I don't know that people will say that they're like dominant or whatever in the game space, but I do think that they are the most positioned to be successful in the economic state that we're in, because they have diversified themselves in a way where you don't have to spend a ton of money to be part of the Xbox ecosystem. And they will meet you at whatever price point you want to be at. If you want to buy a high-end PC and buy their games over there, that's fine. If you want to buy, a Series S for $400 and play it there and do digital only or whatever, then they have that for you. Like the diversification there, I think, is going to really, really help them. And that's only going to carry on into the next generation where they get Steam on there, and it's going to be crazy. I think that that's going to be a really good sign for them. And one more little prediction I have for Xbox is I do think that they are going to make one more major purchase that makes people go like, oh wow, really? In the same way that them buying Bethesda and then Activision happened. I think we're gonna get one more of those in the next 10 years. And I don't know exactly who it's gonna be. I do actually think Valve is not a super far off possibility.
Right.
And people have been talking about like them buying Sega for 1,000 years. So like those two feel like the most likely. But I do think that they're gonna make like one more big purchase.
One more earth-shattering kaboom.
One more earth-shattering kaboom.
Yeah.
And people are going to be like, wow, really? And they're going to be like, yeah, well, is it a monopoly? Yeah, maybe, but we put our games on every other platform that exists, so here we are. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's
Big
where I think it is. Those are all my predictions for the video game space. With one exception, I do think that in the next 10 years, someone else will try to make VR work again, and it won't, but it will be better. I threw that in there. I was like, one more person's going to try VR, and it won't work. But people will be like, this is way better than it was before, and then still no one will buy it because no one wants it.
Still don't want it, though. No. Yeah,
all right,
very cool.
Yeah, so those are all my predictions, and I feel pretty good about most of them. So, should I make a big sweeping one like yours, too? I didn't really have one.
Go for it. Make one. Come up with one on the spot.
I believe Kojima will retire, and...
And he's gonna pass off his treasure trove of unintelligible notes to the next person.
Yeah. He recently said that he's going to he got COVID a while ago, and it was like really rough, and he became like really afraid of mortality and all that stuff. And so he wrote down a ton of video game ideas and put them in his will. And so I think when he retires, he's gonna hand off this flash drive of ideas to some other guy, and that guy's going to be like, thank you, and then just throw it straight in the trash, and then he'll put out his next game and be like, this is what Kojima would have wanted.
No, Kojima's smarter than that, because he will have like written it into his estate that like you also get a lot of money. You get like all of his money, but the only way you get to keep the money is if you continue to make games, specifically his ideas. And so like and it won't even be a game developer. He will leave it to a random citizen of the planet.
I left all my ideas in one piece.
Well, yeah, except
the new game developer era has begun. To the grand line.
That would have been a smart joke, but I say he targets one person. You specifically. What if he was like you?
He sends it to me. Oh yeah, my God.
Like, Daniel McGartland, you have to make my games, or else you do not keep the Kojima fortune.
Ooh.
And then you open the scroll and it says like things like, what if the sky was your friend? And you're like, what do I do? How is that a game?
What if the sky was your friend and it was played by Timothy Chalamet?
Timothy Chalamet is the sky and the ozone, and he is your friend. Make that a game.
Joke's on him.
You're like, how? And then you have to go find Timothy with all your current resources, although you do have his money, granted.
True.
You have to say, you need to let me scan you, and he doesn't know who you are.
Do you think he'll leave Kojima, like he'll leave Jeff Keighley in his will to the next guy? He'll be like, you have to take care of my son.
No, he won't. The will not mention Jeff Keighley, but Jeff Keighley will show up at your door.
Yeah. He's the one who
He will-
delivers the flash drive.
He will say, "No, you get the." He comes 3 days later. He says, "Is this where it is?"
Is this where it
Like,
is?
what are you doing here, Jeff? He
I've
says,
made the
"I need to live on
pilgrimage."
your. I need to live on your couch now."
Well, joke's on Kojima. My friend's already this guy. That's you. You're Sky.
Oh, that's me.
Got him. Well, everybody, this unfortunately very long episode that I'll probably have to edit down to some extent. We had a lot of really great ideas and great conversations, and if you thought so too, hit like on whatever you're on. Leave a comment. Tell us how much you love us or how much you hate us.
When you messaged me about having to do critical thinking,
Yeah.
I got very nervous.
Yeah.
But I think we did okay. And I think every prediction we said is 100% going to come true.
1,000% absolutely going to come true, especially the me getting Kojima's flash drive of ideas.
Yep.
That's going to happen.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this far into this very long episode. If you made it here, leave a comment that's like, I made it here. And I'll be like, high five, homie, or whatever. If you want to follow the show, you can follow it on Twitter at @RSR_POD. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Daniel J. McG.
You can follow me on Blue Sky at Skyler 8-bit.
And until next time, everybody, we'll see you around.
See you around.
See you around, baby.
The game's just starting, the world's so bright. Jump right in, everything feels right. Let's play, take a trip back in time with